Today, we're diving into a really fascinating personal experiment. And look, this isn't about reaching some, higher state of consciousness or unlocking some secret productivity hack. No, it's about something way more fundamental. Building a foundation for your life that's so solid that you simply don't collapse in this crazy, chaotic modern world. I mean, this question, it just hits home, right? You've read the books, you've listened to the talks, maybe you've even got a meditation app. You get the concepts, you really do. But somehow, life still feels, well, shaky, unstable, overwhelming. So what's really going on here? Well, the source material we're digging into today makes a pretty bold claim. It says the problem isn't that we lack wisdom. The problem is that most of us are caught in this flawed system, a kind of modern trap for anyone trying to get their life together. Okay, tell me if this burnout cycle looks familiar. It always starts with that burst of inspiration. I'm gonna change. You muscle through with pure willpower, and for a little while, you feel amazing. But you know willpower is like a battery, right? It runs out, and when it does, you crash. Hard. All those desires you were suppressing, they come roaring back, maybe even stronger. And then comes the worst part. You blame yourself. You think, I just need a better, higher fix. And boom, you're right back at the beginning of the cycle. And here it is. This is the crucial, fundamental misunderstanding. We honestly believe we can achieve a peaceful mind all on its own, like it's some separate project totally detached from the messy reality of our daily lives. It's like we're trying to fix the software while completely ignoring the fact that the hardware is overheating and about to shut down. This really just cuts right to the heart of it. It's a simple, unavoidable truth. An unstable life packed with chaotic schedules, poor sleep, and constant stress is always going to sabotage any attempt at mental peace. The mind just needs a solid, stable place to rest. So if pushing for some higher state is the trap, then what's the way out? Well, this is where the experiment gets really interesting. The approach was to do the exact opposite of what most self-help tells you to do. Instead of trying to progress, the goal was to regress. And that was it. That was the entire goal for 4 whole months. No grand enlightenment on the agenda, no conquering the ego, just one beautifully simple, incredibly grounded goal. Don't collapse. Don't scatter your energy all over the place. Don't try to escape. Just hold your ground. And this table just highlights the huge shift in thinking. I mean, look at the old goals. They're so abstract, they're almost impossible to achieve. What does a higher state even feel like on a random Tuesday? But the new goals, they're tangible. They're about stability and just being present, not about transcending your life. So let's look at the actual choices this new goal led to. First, making sleep the #1 priority, even if it meant saying no to a cool opportunity. This totally reframes rest, right? It's not a luxury, it's the non-negotiable foundation. Second, actively practicing doing less, which is a real discipline in our culture of more, more, more. And third, instead of this constant war against your own desires, the author just observed them, wrote them down, didn't judge them. And what's amazing is, that simple act of observation made them start to lose their power. Now, this mindset shift from advancing to stabilizing, it wasn't just a thought experiment. It had to be grounded in daily reality. The real, lasting change came from building a simple, repeatable structure. This led to what's called a minimum viable structure, which turned out to be more powerful than any single profound insight. It all starts with a fixed routine, anchored by your sleep schedule. Then, you add a brief, non-negotiable daily ritual. We're talking just a few minutes of breathing or a short walk. And finally, you start treating knowledge, books, teachers, whatever, as practical tools, not as sacred objects to be worshipped. And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. The real power wasn't in some heroic 2-hour meditation session once a week. It was in the 5 minutes of quiet breathing every single day. That consistent, small effort is what builds a foundation that those sporadic, high-intensity bursts never can. So let's talk a little more about that third point, using tools without worshiping them. To make sure all that knowledge you're taking in is actually practical and not just another theory floating around in your head, a super simple 3-question filter was developed. These questions are honestly brilliant because they force you to ground these big, abstract ideas. First, what is this actually saying? Second, How can I apply this right now, today, in my real life? And third, can I explain this to somebody else in simple terms? Because if you can't, you probably don't understand it well enough for it to be useful yet. This literally transforms you from a passive consumer of information into an active user. Okay, so you've built this stable inner structure. You're feeling more grounded, but how do you know if it's actually working? The argument here is that the ultimate test isn't some blissful feeling you get while sitting on a meditation cushion. Nope, it's how you show up for other people. Wow, I mean, this is such a powerful redefinition of what it means to be mature. It completely shifts the goal from winning arguments and proving how right you are to just being a stable, reliable presence for the people in your life. It's about making them feel safe and seen, not about convincing them you have all the answers. This leads to an incredibly practical little tool. The next time you feel that anxiety or chaos creeping in, before you start overthinking everything, just run this simple diagnostic check. Ask yourself, am I exhausted? Has my routine been thrown off? Am I trying to force a solution too quickly? And if the answer to any of those is yes, just notice how simple the solution is. It's not think harder or find a new philosophy. It's to return to the absolute basics of being a stable human. It's a physical prescription for what feels like a mental problem, and it is profoundly effective. So, as we start to bring this all together, the core message becomes incredibly clear. Before you try to achieve enlightenment, before you chase peak performance, you have a much more important, much more fundamental first step to take. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The whole point of all this practice, whether it's meditation, routine, whatever, it's not to escape your reality. It's to become so grounded in your reality that you can handle its pressures without breaking. It's all about resilience, not transcendence. And this lays out the path so clearly, in a very specific order. It all starts with the basic structure of your day. From that stability, your body and mind have a chance to find their footing. And only then, once you're on solid ground, can you bring that stable presence into your relationships with other people. The order here is absolutely critical. And you know, this is the beautiful part. You stop fighting to calm your mind. You simply create the conditions for your mind to calm itself. A stable life structure is like a still glass of water. All the sediment, all those anxious thoughts, they just naturally settle to the bottom on their own. So we'll end with this idea. What if the path forward isn't something you find by thinking your way into a new life, but by living your way into one? The idea is you build the structure, you show up every day, and you let the path reveal itself through your actions. Maybe the most profound way to move forward is to first learn how to simply hold your ground.